Bonjour, je suis toujours ici dans ma série sur l'évolution, où j'essaye de rassembler des documents pour prendre position sur l'évolution. Et je pensais vous mettre un document à propos de Richard Dawkins. Donc c'est un grand scientifique qui est par la suite rentré dans le domaine de l'athéisme. Et il a dit quelque part que faire un débat avec quelqu'un de religieux, c'était comme frapper dans une éponge. Tellement pour lui c'était facile. Alors le débat que je vous propose ici, c'est un débat où justement il a eu en face de lui de la résistance et son adversaire avait des idées pour l'attaquer. Je pensais que c'était intéressant. Je pensais aussi que c'était bien que je réponde à Richard Dawkins, mais dans un premier temps, je ne vais pas le faire parce que je pense que c'est bien pour vous aussi que vous n'ayez pas la réponse tout de suite, parce que sinon vous risquez de consommer ce que je dis de façon passive, alors que vous auriez pu vous-même faire l'exercice au préalable. Donc je vais vous donner le débat, j'ai sélectionné les moments qui me semblaient les plus importants, j'ai regardé seulement la première moitié et dans cette première moitié j'ai sélectionné des passages. Alors le passage le plus célèbre c'est celui avec la jument volante, mais c'est intéressant de voir aussi comment cette boutade est née. Donc il y a tout un contexte et c'est pour ça que c'est important de voir aussi le début. Alors j'ai divisé en 4 rounds, comme si c'était un match de boxe. Il y a une petite cloche à la fin de chaque round, et ce que vous pouvez faire si vous voulez, c'est vous exercer. Quand vous entendez la cloche, vous pouvez arrêter et écrire dans les commentaires ce que vous répondriez à Dawkins. Ça vous fera un exercice qui vous permettrait d'apprendre les choses de façon plus profonde, alors que si je réponds tout de suite, vous risquez de consommer ça de façon passive et de moins apprendre. Voici donc un débat qui a beaucoup fait parler de lui dans le monde anglo-saxon, un débat entre deux éléments importants de notre civilisation, la science et la religion.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Richard Dawkins.
One of the most prolific thinkers of his generation, he shot to fame in the 1970s with his research into genetics, and his book, The Selfish Gene, transformed evolutionary biology. His most famous work, The God Delusion, sold millions of copies and has been translated into more than 30 languages.
Richard, thanks so much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. Before we go any further, I just want to check something. Are you an atheist?
For all practical purposes, yes. Nobody can actually say for certain that anything doesn't exist. But I'm an atheist in the same way as I'm an a-leprechaunist and an a-fairyist and an a-pink unicornist.
So you're not 100% sure God doesn't exist, but you're sure enough to make it practically...
I'm as sure as you are sure that fairies and leprechauns don't exist.
And do you see an equivalence between the idea of God and the idea of a fairy and a leprechaun?
The evidence for both is equally poor.
You say in The God Delusion, one of my favourite sentences that jumps out of...
I said he was the most unpleasant character in all fiction, because I regard it as fiction, of course. And yes, he is. I mean, he's jealous, he's vindictive, he's callous, he's cruel.
And yet this is a God that is worshipped by, loved by, adored by, followed by millions, billions of people.
I hope not. I hope that the God that is adored by millions of people is a grown-up kind of God who is no longer... I hope that most people who... The kind of people I would like to know who worship and admire him regard those stories as not literally true. Now, there are some who do regard them as literally true, and I suspect they either haven't read the Old Testament or they're not the kind of people I would wish to know, because you do not want to worship a character like that. By all means, worship some kind of great spirit of the universe, some kind of creative intelligence who created the universe, but don't worship this vile, vindictive monster of the Old Testament.
Why throw around these sweeping statements about religion Not the God of the Old Testament, but religion itself being evil. I mean, do you believe religion is evil?
No.
But you say plenty of times in this book that religion is evil. You said in a speech famously that I think a case can be made that faith is one of the world's great evils, comparable to the smallpox virus, but harder to eradicate.
I do think that, yes. Because what I'm talking about there is faith, where faith means belief in something without evidence. Because if you believe something without evidence, then that justifies anything. You're no longer vulnerable to somebody coming back at you and saying, hang on a minute, let me argue the case. If you believe it without evidence, which is what faith is, then you don't argue the case. You say, no, I'm not arguing that case. This is my faith. It's mine. It's private. I don't dissent from it. I don't retreat from it. You're just going to have to accept it. Now, that is evil. There is a logical progression that goes from believing in faith, having faith that your God tells you to do something, and doing terrible deeds, like suicide bombing, like flying planes into skyscrapers. The vast majority of people of faith don't do such terrible things. But those people who do terrible things do it believing that they are righteous and good, and they think that they're doing the will of their God. So they're not evil people, they're actually good people by their own lights. They believe they're doing good things, and that's why religion is evil, because it can make you do evil things, believing that they are good. From evidence.
In your book, you cite lots of evidence for the bad things religion's done. What I wonder is, if you were being fair, wouldn't you have also included some of the good things that religion's done?
My passion is for scientific truth. I don't much care about what's good and evil, actually. I care about what's true. I mean, do you actually believe in your Muslim faith? Do you believe that Muhammad split the moon in two? Do you believe that Muhammad flew to heaven on a winged horse, for example? I pay you the compliment of assuming that you don't.
No, I do. I believe in miracles.
You believe that?
Yes.
You believe that Muhammad went to heaven on a winged horse?
Yes, I believe in God. I believe in miracles. I believe in revelation. I mean, the point here is that let's assume I'm wrong, Richard. I'm wrong.
Let's.
Let's assume I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm happy to concede that, Richard. I'm happy to concede it. I'm wrong. All religions are wrong. God does not exist. We're all mad. The issue is we exist. We've existed for a while. I think even Christopher Hitchens said, and you've said in your writings, we're not going anywhere. So my question to you is, why not acknowledge, for example, the good things that religion has done? Do you accept that religion has done good things, despite all of our mad beliefs and our miracles?
I accept that individual religious people have done an enormous number of good things.
Not driven by religion?
Well...
religion, when religious people clearly are doing lots of good things and they're doing it in the name of God.
I've never denied that religious people are doing good things and non-religious people are doing good things. I care about what's true. I'm an educator, I'm a scientist, and I want people to understand the truth about the universe in which they live. That's what I care about. And I regard religion as a distraction, and in some cases a pernicious distraction from true education. If you actually believe Muhammad flew to heaven on a winged horse, that's an anti-scientific belief.
And that could be wrong.
But that bloody well is wrong.
But that doesn't change. That doesn't change. How do you know it's wrong?
Oh, come on. You're a man of the 21st century.
No, I'm just asking. It comes back to my original question. The rational position is the agnostic. The rational position is the agnostic position.
Why up there? What, I mean,
the rational position. I didn't say up there. I didn't pick a place.
Okay,
you
well,
picked a place.
why would a winged horse be the way to get to heaven if it's not up there?
I asked a question about. You asked about proof. I'm all for saying I can't prove it, but can you prove he didn't do it? I mean, this is the end-old debate.
Didn't fly to heaven on a winged horse?
I'm just asking on your criteria. I'm just asking on your criteria.
No, I can't prove it, and I can't prove it wasn't a golden unicorn.
But I'm fascinated that you're rather talk about what animals the Prophet may or may not have used 1400 years ago, rather than talk about what Muslims or Islam is doing in the world today, good or bad.
Well,
that seems to be the distraction. If anyone's distracted, it seems to be you.
Well, that's your view. I'm fascinated by how somebody a respected, sophisticated journalist in the 21st century can believe that a prophet flew to heaven on a winged horse.
Let me ask you this. Are all people who